2022 was the year. We did it! Sure didn't pass like one. Shout out to the Twitter account, always reminding me how fast it's gone by. But all in all, I'd say it's a pretty decent one on my end. In the midst of all the it was a pretty chill one for me. Got the 2 big bucket list projects released among other videos. Got to experience life as a high school graduate,
among us other things.
And something I had to do this year was to experience new content. You know, broaden my scope of the media landscape. You see, for a while, I was a stubborn old bitch when it came to watching shit. If I ain't familiar with it, then I ain't buying. So this year, I sucked it up and finally gave variety a shot. And you know what? This shit ain't half bad. I managed to watch enough new shit this year that I felt compelled to talk about them all. But let me make something clear. This list is entirely subjective. I'm not saying any of these shows, / seasons, because yeah, I am including seasons on this list, but I should make that probably clear too, are objectively good or bad. This is all just my thoughts on each show, off the cuff. So, let's get right to them. Oh, this list is gonna be long.
Disappointment in the game of Neverland.
Everyone says Promised Neverland Season 2 sucks. It does. Let's talk about it. Now, some backstory. The Promised Neverland was my first real anime that I watched and completed back to 2019. I've always hated it for that. And let me tell you, this shit's a fucking bop. From its well-crafted and 3-dimensional characters, amazing sense of tension, and twists and plays galore, it made every episode a delight to watch and rewatch respectively. It always knew when to play a twist or to kill off a character at the right moment, and by the end, I was left satisfied with everyone's character arc. Enough to where I didn't feel a season 2 was necessary. And I kinda went on my way not disappointed. Until the backlash came in. It seemed I couldn't go to many anime, hell, even disappointing show discussion tweets without one person mentioning this one. It really seemed like the big bad season that ruined a beloved anime. So I avoided it for a while. Morbidly curious, but satisfied by season 1 enough to not feel angry. But you know, temptations are a bitch. To the point, this season sucks. The rumors from pissy manga nerds be damned, I hated it. But you know, it's funny. I didn't feel that visceral anger on my first watch. In fact, for a while I liked it. The first few episodes weren't half bad. I was kinda liking the overall game aspect the show was taking. The world building was pretty solid. And up to the finale, I felt satisfying enough. Montage notwithstanding, but we'll get to that one when we get to that one. And I just followed the manga fans beat them entitled little selves. But it wasn't until discussing it with friends when I realized
This is bad.
First off, Emma fucking sucks. Now, she was never my favorite, I'll admit it outright, but I still really liked her. She managed to keep the heart of the show and group and helped keep Norman and Ray to their morals, when odds seemed stacked against them. And she wasn't a happy-go-lucky one at all times. She knew the clear danger they were always facing. But even then, she wanted a happy end to all of this and would always find a way to get that ending. She had a clear part to play in the story, and I love how it ended it for her. Now in season 2, she's goddamn Steven Universe. She became a character who knew the danger, to where I just wanted peace at all times and no one to die. And that doesn't work here. It worked in the original because the environment was small enough in scale to where killing wasn't the obvious alternative. However, in this season, they're in the goddamn demon realm, where everything and everyone is out to kill them. The mindset of, don't kill anyone, it wouldn't be bad, doesn't work when the other side eats babies! Okay, let me record that. The mindset of, don't kill anyone, or we'll be just as bad as them, doesn't work when the other side eats babies! Now after season were to slowly work towards her becoming more jaded, but still kept to her morals, kinda like Aang from Avatar, that'd be pretty good. Hell, there's this one pretty good scene where she's forced to hunt down this bird for food. And while she feels bad for it, she realizes the right course of action for survival. It's really good symbolism, but man does the season have a problem not giving us good payoffs because this goes nowhere. She just resorts to peace as the only option until the very end, which leads to a boring, one-note, bland protagonist to follow. A far cry from the original character. But you know, it's fine, at least Norman sucks too. Now unlike Emma, this bitch was my favorite. He was such a great character, with his greatly written intellect while also having some playful nature when around Emma. It makes for such compelling scenes whenever he's on screen, whether it be about strategizing what move to make next, realizing the shit that's going on, or just playing around with Emma and the kids. And his death scene is one of the most chilling and well-crafted moments of this season, and made the stakes feel all the higher. So now, just like with Brian, he's alive and everything is worse now. My god, did they fuck him up bad. Because now, instead of being the smart and logical and smarterer one, now full-blown genocidal maniac. Like, I get it. He's now these band of misfits and knows the damage these demons have caused. But the way they write him to be full-on bloodthirsty is just lame. Not only is it incredibly out of character, and was a rush as hell turnaround, but it was just there to make Emma's point seem rational by comparison. Because he had this one fucking scene where he's about to murder this child and her mother, fuck me now. And then Emma shows up like, oh no, I mean, don't kill the child. And the worst part is how quickly it goes from Kara to his giddy old self.
We stick to the plan. Nothing's changed. I've come this far already. It's too late to change course now. Too late. Can't turn back. It's the only way to make this world safe. It's too late. I've gone too far and can't turn back.
That's not true and you know it!
It's over. We have to stop.
And they're like, jump, and he's like, no, and they're like, jump, and he's like, no, and they're like, jump, and he's like, okay.
Which leads me to my biggest problem this season. It's god-awful pacing. I'm gonna go out and say it. This season has the worst pacing of any serialized show I've ever seen. Cause they try to fit so much from the manga into these 11 episodes and it come off as bloated as hell. Like, they're running from demons, becoming friends with two of them, a bunker, a time skip where the group is suddenly just hiding amongst themselves for the entirety of a year. Rumors return and his group of I don't cares, him burning down the town, and then realizing genocide run sucks, them running down to build operations, Isabella coming back, Isabella turning on the group she worked with for her whole adult life, the master dying, the reunion of her with Emma, and the group being split up, one to the heathen world and the other to fight a good fight. Now, that is a lot to take in, but don't worry, to tie it up all badly, none of these plot lines are given any time to fully develop, and are either underwhelming, rushed, or just have nothing to add. It makes me think this season just deserved more episodes in general. It really could have used that time to flesh these out. Or hell, just have some of these for season 3. Oops! Yeah, the montage at the end sucks, everyone already knows that. I'll stop my rant here, the season blows. The only positive I can say is that I like Ray here. His progression seems more natural, and I like how he's the middleman to all the chicanery. And the animation's real pretty. Except for the CGI fucks. Yep. Yeah, I already made a video on this, so I'll keep this section real brief. This series sucks. It's only better than the last one because at least here I didn't expect anything and it managed to impress me with 2 okay episodes. A C- in an overall failing grade. But yeah, watch the video for yourself if you want to know more. I don't even know why I watched the show this year, or any shows fucking kill me.
SpongeBob.
Alright, so let me speak for this one for a bit. You see, I've been an advocate for the post-sequel era since 2017 or so. I mean, never outwardly, of course, I have a life. But whenever I see the same tweet about animation too wacky, show suck though, I always have a few arguments in my mind saying how it's fine and the show is way better than it used to be back in seasons 6 to 8. As for the episodes themselves, I never watched them. I mean, I'd always had the occasional SpongeBob phase where I catch up between season to season, but I never had an opinion on the newer episodes. I just thought they were fine and didn't warrant the scorn I saw on Twitter. But you see, during this year, I tried this new trick called having my own opinion. And now with that in mind, I can see what y'all were talking about. This season sucked. And not for the animation, strangely enough. Like, sure, there's some outliers. There's a lot of them. But the animation was pretty restrained overall. especially considering how obnoxious it really was back in seasons 11 to 12. But as the only defense I can muster for this terrible excuse of a season, let's start with the character writing. Blah, what the fuck? Let's start with the character writing, because it sucks. Each and every one is so much less dynamic. No matter the scene, the jokes of each character are always the same. SpongeBob will always be oblivious and happy. Squidward will always be the grumpy sarcastic one, with less funny jokes and quips than he was last time. Mr. Krabs will always want money. Patrick will always be the worst character of the show by contributing nothing to the plot and being a fat, obnoxious plot device. No, let me get into that because I've been talking about this for a while. As someone who's kept up with the show, I was always used to Patrick's character getting worse from season to season. The brick phase and all. And when I saw how he was handled season 9B, I thought he was finally a good. Who am I kidding? Of course he was. He'll just be how he was in SpongeBob Bikini Bottom for every episode. Now I love this show. I am being 100% when I say that Patrick is in the worst state now in the entirety of the show, even compared to season 6 to 9. Because at least there, you never knew what side of him you were going to get. And he had episodes where he was written really well, like No Hat for Pat and Sandcastles in the Sand. But here, he has turned to Mr. Turner from season 10 as Fairly Odd Parents. Only there to either eat shit, start a conflict or plot point, or just be obnoxious. And no other episode exemplifies this more than Pat the Dog. The worst episode of season 13, and one of my least favorites of the show. Not only are the jokes here tired as hell, with half of them being the same jokes the show has done ad nauseum.
Chicken nugget.
But it's the way that Patrick is characterized here that irks me. I am irked. Not only is the explanation for this dumbass plot forced and stupid, not to mention dumb, but they flanderize his idiotic nature even more than usual. Like, he is just a dog here, and it misses the mark of his character completely. At least in Pat the Horse, he had a somewhat reasonable catalyst at the opening. This one just skips all of that and plays the most generic plot tropes you can think of. But, then decides to be a schoolwork gets fucked episode by the end. Why the fuck not? It wasn't until I rewatched Frankendoodle a week after or before this one when the state of his character truly started to set in for me. Because at one point, he used to be a highlight of a ton of episodes he was in. I Had an Accident, Chocolate with Nuts, Wet Painters, The Fry Cook Games, Life of Crime, Rule of Thumb, Big Pink Loser, Patrick Smartpants, These Student Service, Follow the Idiots, Donut of Shame. I could go on, I have a whole list. Because in each of them, he had either great lines, great banter, or just really good character writing that used the other sides of his personality. And as he is now, he has become the worst aspect of each episode, and the moments I've grown at the most. Well, let's get back on track here. Because the characters are lacking dimensions or other traits, it makes each scene of them predictable as hell. And each joke they do with them, if there are even attempts at dialogue humor, are just the ones you can see from a mile away. And that leads me to another issue. The humor of the show sucks now. Now, this has been an issue really since season 12, but my god is it more persistent here. And it's mostly due to all or almost all of the jokes being purely visual. It's either don't make a stupid face, move in a goofy manner, or some discount Looney Tunes crap. And usually I wouldn't mind this. I really do love visual gags, but only when it's supplemented by other kinds of jokes. That's what made the older episodes truly special. Think about it. What was your favorite moment from an episode like Dying for Pie? Was it the goofy expressions or visual gags? Or the character exchanges from Squidward or SpongeBob? Because at least for me, I will always quote the ending of that episode due to how excellently it was written and acted. Now, can you quote me a moment from Potato Puff? How about Squidward's sick days? Plain to see? Oh my god, no one watches this episode but me. Why are they even doing this? The problem with them being so reliant on one type of humor is that it leads to the episodes often getting no laughs or memorable moments. SpongeBob was never a purely goofy animation-based cartoon. It had great writing. That's what people remember it from years later. But they don't have that anymore. And when they do, it's the most predictable kind. Which leads me to my final point. Not really, but I need to segue to wrap this up fast. The episode output. This season has the worst batch of episodes of the show's history. Let me put it this way. There were only 2 episodes of the season that I liked. Lockdown for Love, and Say On. And both of those would only reach the midpoint of the solid tier of the entire show. The rest of them are either mid as hell, forgettable as hell, formulaic as hell, or just plain suck. And almost all of them lack that spice that bad episodes used to have. When an episode like One Course Meal and A Pound for Gary showed up, it got people talking. Like, both of them suck hard, but in different ways. Now compare that to Squidward's Sick Days versus Plain to See. Why do they suck? Because SpongeBob is an oblivious buffoon and Squidward gets hurt because of it? I can name 5 season 6 episodes of the same premise and I'd sooner watch them than these. You know what? I'm gonna do that. This season is like a box of chocolates. I hate chocolate. This season blows. Now, just like with SpongeBob, I kept up with this show for a good while now, during the start of season 3. So believe me when I tell you, I've seen its highest highs and lowest lows. But even I was left disappointed by the utter amount of shit this season had. However, it didn't start out this way. The first episode was really good. It managed to keep the story going from the finale in a natural way. And the callback to continuity nonsense one had were really clever and intuitive, whilst also being fun continuations of these dimensions we saw. It didn't feel like fan service at all, as they actually added new plot developments along with new stuff in general. And considering the ads plus the endings this one had, I was left optimistic for the rest of the season to be an epic continuity-based adventure. This is what having good expectations for this fucking show leads you. The next 3 episodes stunk. Episode 2 had an alright A-plot, but it felt like it ran out of steam rather quickly and was just done better when it was just 3 minutes. And an awful B-plot with Summer. How in the hell do you manage to have more annoying Die Hard references than Intro to Knots? Cause yeah, the whole plot is just Summer saying Die Hard for 9 to 11 minutes. And that is a non-exaggeration, by the way. It is just that.
Do a Die Hard. Die Hard.
Fucking Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Die easy.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. Die Hard. Die Hard. Die Hard.
Die Hard. Die Hard. Die Hard. Die Hard. Die Hard. Die Hard.
Die Hard.
And the worst part is, this plot could have been a really fun way to explore her character. Because we never got to see her have her own solo adventure or takedown. So this could have been a really cool way to see how she would handle her own against these goons. Instead, we get the second worst A to B plot synergy of the show, and one that drags down an already okay episode to one of the worst. But surely the next one's gotta be better. Nope, it sucks too. And not for the reason Evo keeps spouting. Because let me just say it here, this ain't incest. What this is, however, is a fetish episode. And that on its own wouldn't make it the worst thing ever. Episode 6 of Season 1 had a bizarre premise, and it turned out great. But the difference there is that they play the premise for comedy when they need to. This one plays it completely for drama. And, no? Like, I understand the thematic connection this episode was trying to spout, but it should have went more into that. Have it be about Beth going on some space adventures, attacking the space cats, beating Space Dad, all that junk. And then have her idolize the freedom and badassery Space Beth has, and have that be the emotional core. Basically more of the C plot from the first episode. Instead, this episode hinges on that one scene in space as if it was foreplay, and then goes straight to fucking. Like, this may just be my aceness talking, but the romance here sucks. It is built on nothing but lust, and no attempts were made at chemistry, other than the fact that one aspires to freedom that the other has. But like I said, they don't play that enough to where I can get invested. And I wouldn't mind this if, for one, the focus was on how the kids react to it and took a more comedic route, and two, it wasn't the main plot of the whole thing. Because the best parts of this episode are really when they do play this concept for comedy. Like if Jeff basically coming out as a cock of the walk, and the kids' reaction to them all fucking upstairs. That got a real hard laugh out of me.
Holy shit, you did a full San Junipero in here? Oh my god, Beth, there's masturbating and then there's masturbating.
But when your best part of an episode is at the end of all that fetish shit, then yeah, it makes for a bad episode. And the next episode is mid, 6 out of 10. I like the premise, but it is just that for 22 minutes. And like the A plot from episode 2, it loses steam rather fast. You wanted more? You make a fucking review of this episode, I dare you. But with episode 5, I was left conflicted. Because there's some stuff I really do enjoy here. The relationship between Jerry and Rick feels genuine whilst being funny, and it has some really fun and creative action scenes that make excellent use of the fortune cookie premise. God, that took one breath. But then it has that dumbass hint that took to it all again, and it just falls apart there. Plus the villain here is just really weak. I still don't think it warranted the score Twitter gave it, but I can't call it good either. And you wanna know the funniest part of the season? Like, not supposed to be funny, but it's actually funny. It ends with a banger. Yeah, as soon as I lost hope of it ever redeeming itself, it surprised me with a great episode. And that mostly had to do with a great premise, comedy, and character writing. Plus, it furthers the plot of the first episode and actually progresses the season's main core conflict. To the point where if you wanted to watch this season, you could just skip episodes 2 to 5 and go straight to here. Because this was more of an episode 2 than those were. Which, yeah, can I just say how garbage this show is at continuing its canonical plots? Because it's a habit this season of tributes. See, it'll always go like this. They'll set up something really cool in the first episode or last season's final episode, make you hyped that'll be a bigger part of the season, and just never bring it up afterwards. And not just that, the show will also clamor on and on how it's going to be more episodic and how much it hates canonical storytelling. Which, to cool others to complain about this, don't fucking do it then! Like, if you wanted this season to be like classic Rick and Morty adventures, then just do that! Don't continually lead your audience on again and again, thinking you'll get your shit together and tell a larger narrative. Because all you're making them do is hate your episodic episodes even more. And the worst part is, they ain't bad at telling narrative-based episodes. The Relentless mix-up is the best episode of the show, and that will continue the plot that was introduced in season 1, but in such a creative, interesting, and exciting way. And it's not just that. The season 5 2-part finale does off with Space Bath, and even the season premiere showed that they can really tell these kind of stories well when they want to. But with how much they love to joke about them not doing these type of stories, it makes the show look insecure. Like he's telling self-deprecating jokes about its bad habits, but them doing them anyway. But with the ending of the last episode, it's looking like it's gonna finally start progressing the narrative and getting its shit together. So hopefully by next time it finishes, you'll see the show at a higher spot on my next list.
Assuming you all make it.
You're all 16.
We follow that up with total drama? Well, more so they're not nearly as successful older sibling. And let me tell you, this show was always shrouded in mystery for the majority of my life. It's like open season. I'll remember it exists, forget it for like 5 to 6 months, and then randomly get reminded of it again. Well, this year I said no more, and finally gave it a proper look. Also because of this one stern Twitter account posting clips, no shade, no to pretty good clips. And after watching it, yeah, that cycle will sure continue. Now, let me get this out of the way. I didn't finish this one. I only made it to the end of season 1 when I decided to dip. So I apologize to any 16 fans if I unintentionally get some things wrong here. But yeah, the show is pretty mid. And it's mostly due to it being a big product of its time. Like, it has the vibe of a 2000s show all over the place. And that's where most of the charm comes from. But that also comes with the characters as well, which are the show's biggest savior and flaw. Because while people like Judah and Jonesy are always pretty entertaining, and Nikki has some really good lines and moments, the rest are very hit or miss. Wyatt's pretty entertaining in some episodes, but he can have his groaner moments. Then there's these two assholes, who encompass the real day-to-day of the show. Caitlin and Jen are the ones who either make or break my enjoyment. They can't make it by barely being in an episode, and breaking when they are. Their personalities are heavy 2000s teen stereotypes, and they often get the worst plots. Jen's are boring, often staying in one location and are very stock, and Caitlin just kinda sucks. She has like only one trait in her episodes, and that's whatever muscle bob buff fuck she wants to buff fuck, and each one is just so predictable. And these two are put together, you get shit. I'm exaggerating, of course. This show was never dog shit per se, except when they visit a Chinese restaurant because
Then you must learn the way of the sushi. First, you must join our daily practice of Hiya! Karashi!
Do you mean karate?
No, Karashi! It's where karate and sushi join force to conquer ordinary North American pub fare menu. Kuni?
Hey!
yikes. Just never what I could get into. And for what I hear from Roro, a good personal friend and better YouTube channel, who watched season 2, it doesn't look to get better. So I'll just let it be for now. But I will say, I do respect the hell out of it for representing teen problems that other shows at the time wouldn't, like periods and driving. It's good that the kids or preteens watching this show got to know about these kind of things. Also, hot damn, do a lot of total drama voice actors originate from this show. Like, yeah, you of course get Chris and Gwen's, but you also have Dawn's, Emma's, Lindsay's, Courtney's, Jeff's, and even Justin later on. So if anything else, this show is a fun as hell I spy to total drama fans. And nothing much else.
Stop bullying and speak up.
Well, this pick gotta reveal some things about me. Now let me say, when it comes to the shows I decide to watch, especially the anime, the reasons are often the same. Memes!
Why is he so, like, nervous?
Yeah, the exposure principle has its merit. I'm sure it's a real thing, trust me.
Well, I was close at least.
The more I see the show's reaction image on Twitter, the more enticed I am to check it out. Which did lead me to some of my favorite shows coming up. It also led me to these f***s. Now, this show ain't bad, per se. I do see what people would like from it. I didn't overall have a bad experience with it. But let me put it this way. Watching this show is like a more tolerable Squidward torture episode. Alright, let's get the biggest problem out of the way. The show is far too mean-spirited. It's just nasty throughout each episode of how relentless the treatment is to this guy.
Admitting part of my dislike comes from a certain amount of personal discomfort, which is pretty much any story where overly extroverted people really get overly friendly with clearly uncomfortable introverted people. No regards to others' feelings, especially when they keep saying that it's out of love.
Now, I'm not saying the show should be all wholesome romantic comedy, where they learn to love and share and love. But I feel like when it comes to making a show where the cast are all assholes, you have to have a balance. The issue this show has is that there's very little in the way of levity or time to breathe due to the lack of nice or even neutral characters. It's the same issue I had with Al Gregory. The balance is too small and overall makes for a nasty show to watch. It's never played super comedically or over the top like in, say, Emperor's New Groove. It's strangely realistic enough to where it makes some scenes legit uncomfortable to watch. Especially with these two, who legit give me some real bad harassment vibes of how they treat Senpai. I'm not looking up his name. And I'd hate to be the party pooper who plays the reverse the gender card. But my god, does this show make it almost impossible not to. Cause yeah, certain scenes make me uncomfortable. It's the way they force him to do their bidding and legit lock his arms to do so that just gets to me personally. And I don't want to be the fun police here and say,
That's not funny.
more power to y'all if you find this hilarious or whatever it was trying to be. But it just did nothing for me but make me hate these two and feel bad for our pathetic main protagonist. Which is made even worse when Nagatoro shows up and then straight up victim blames him for the harassment caused by her buddies?
Like, what the fuck?
What was he supposed to do exactly? And I get it, it's in character. But it just makes her look so much worse and actively makes me dislike her. Speaking of which, Nagatoro is the worst. Okay, not exactly, but my god that she gets some insufferable scenes at times. The first episode especially, she was relentless with her treatment. To the point where it brought him to tears multiple times and caused him to lie awake at night. I'm sorry if I'm missing the comedy here, but it is just horrible. Like, I just feel terrible for our main protagonist. And I really do not want to sound like a sensitive internet critic who goes, this is mean-spirited. But am I supposed to... Where is the comedy? Where is the funny? Now, she never gets that bad later on, besides the scenes where she victim blames, but details. That is, except for the penultimate episode. Now, let me preface this by saying, this show got me at a bad time. Or, more so, I watched it at a point where certain romantic cliches really started to get on my nerves. And at this point, my patience for them just kind of ran thin, and one in particular stood out for me. That being the person A, the love interest usually, catches person B in a sussy situation with someone else of the opposite gender. Shut up, I'm trying to record! Person A, the love interest usually, catches person B in a sussy situation with someone else of the opposite gender, assumes the worst, and storms off. As you can tell, I am pretty great at explaining things. This trope uses 3 of the most annoying love plot conflicts. Dumbass misunderstandings followed by running away, miscommunication of something easy to blurt out, and assuming the worst at all times. And looky here, what this show decides to pull out of its little slavey hole. And I get it, Nagatoro has some deep insecurity that the show will hopefully go more in depth on, but it's how it's executed here that just makes it so annoying. Because this isn't played for laughs, as it should have. This is used as the climax starter. The climax the whole season was leading up to. And my god, it's played so straight and led to me groaning throughout because you know exactly what's going to happen. She's gonna storm off in rage, Senpai will chase after her, but because we live in Season 6 SpongeBob land, he seems the creep for doing so, and it leads to this big bad confrontation where they blurt out their feelings. And I just can't feel anything for them because, first of all, this relationship sucks. And second, the cliche is just too annoying and predictable, I can't give a piss. And what makes it worse, the build-up to the relationship ain't exactly half bad. Like, yeah, the points happen when I expect them to, but the chemistry does come off naturally at times, and like I said before, she does tone down her behavior and becomes better. But the fact that all that led to this just makes me not care. And it just makes the series worse in my eyes. And that's not even mentioning how fancy everything the show can get, which is a byproduct of a lot of anime. I get that. But they happen so often from episode to episode that makes it a show I can never watch in public. But okay, I ran enough about this show, and trust me, I do have other issues. But I do have some positives, like the animation being real pretty and smooth at times. The moments where Senpai acts like a Chad are actually really funny and satisfying to watch. And finally, the moments when Nagatoro shows her sensitive side do their job of being little moments of brevity. But yeah, with how many bad things I had to say about it, why exactly is it about the others? Well, that's because, unlike the ones below it, I see potential. I can see where the show can improve from these episodes and fix its more mean-spirited tone and be more balanced. And I'm overall left optimistic for its future, and we'll stay tuned for Season 2. Don't know if that's a real point of praise for this show, but take what you get, I suppose.
Okay, I left him at school for 3 hours after pickup. Whatever. Okay, he was fine. He sat on a bench. He was just chilling.
He got bullied.
He was fine. Bullying builds character. No, do not bully. Bullying does not build character. I mean, it kind of does. I mean, does it? Can we have a nice, like, philosophical debate on this?
this is quite the odd one out of this tier. Yeah, the show's fine. In fact, it just might be the most okay show I watched this year. Like, nothing about it is particularly terrible, but man, is it just nothing special. And that could be just down to the show just not being funny. Like, sometimes Lyle over here can get a chuckle with his line deliveries, but otherwise, each episode just never entertained me all too much. They're either too stark to be interesting, or too unfunny to be entertaining. And the characters are also nothing memorable. They range from entertaining at times to bad. So it really did not have anything for me to latch on about. And I feel like, for the first time in a while, a show just wasn't intended for me. Like, the humor and overall vibe just feels like it was trying to appeal to a younger crowd. And you know what? I can respect a YouTuber who knows his audience. And still, I'm glad I at least watched it to support James, as producing a show as a YouTuber is no small feat. But as you'll be able to see later on, it can also be done a lot better. And I don't see myself coming back for season 2. But still, good on James for getting this one out. Probably not gonna watch it again.
Investigate the deep state.
Well, here's a show I bet you all forgot about. Irony. Yeah, this one's always been on my radar since it came out, as this premise really got me interested. A show about this organization that's in charge of the world's conspiracies. That premise is really good and can lead to a ton of interesting episode concepts and ideas. But when I heard a reception online, I just skipped. Oh what, another adult animated series where it uses that medium to tell lowbrow, mature humor? So what, put up the others. But I don't know, the concept still sort of intrigued me, and I'd get reminded of its existence enough to remain interested. And one thing led to another, I checked it out, and it's pretty good. Yeah, I think the show got some unfair reception as it's slightly better than people get credit for. Kind of ironic thinking about it that way. But I think the main strength of this show is its cast. Yeah, sure, a few of them have that typical adult cartoon twang with them, but the main ones are pretty solid. Reagan's a really good protagonist and straight back to the group. Must also be peculiar herself. And in general, I like the plots they give her here, how it has that gravity falls structure to them, mixing the mundane sitcom-like scenarios with the show's gimmick. It makes for something pretty entertaining. Her father's pretty good too, and I'm very interested to see where they go with him later on. But my favorite has to be Brett. I love his character type a lot. Basically, I feel like Tyler from Total Drama. I love his chemistry with Reagan and how platonic it is. I also enjoy just how lovable it is, dude. I also enjoy just how much of a lovable... Fuck, why can't I say this word clearly? Yeah. I also enjoy just how much of a lovable... Fuck, why can't I just... It's that simple, Lord. God damn. I also just enjoy how much of a lovable doofus he is in certain episodes. That's the take. Fuck, I ruined it for saying that shit. Why am I... I also just enjoy how much a lovable doofus he is in certain episodes, and I'm very interested. Why? And I'm very interested to see how the episode. I also just enjoy how much a lovable doofus he is in certain. Lovable. Fuck! Why is this so? Why do I say things so fast?
Hi, I'm John Dude.
Okay, these are Toy Story 2 bloopers, I guess. I also enjoy how. Say it clearly, Alone. Don't say it fast. I also enjoy. Okay, maybe now it's good. I've wasted so much time in this fucking recording. I also love how much of a lovable doofus he is in certain episodes, and I'm very interested to see how the drama. And I'm interested to see how the drama plays out with him later on. I especially love the chemistry the main group has. It makes for some really enjoyable scenes. But it's not just the characters, I also enjoy the animation, strangely enough. And this is the part I feel was slept on the most. Like, sure, the style is very similar to Rick and Morty just by looking at it, but I feel like it's one of the styles that looks better in motion than in stills. Because just looking at it, yeah. But the character animation itself is surprisingly very smooth and fluid, and I feel it uses Rick animation to its full potential. Especially during the climaxes, they go really hard there. Speaking of which, the stakes in this show can actually get pretty high at times, and they know how to use them well. And most of them are predictable, and actually have me guessing how to get out of these. Or maybe that's just my dumb baby brain, who the hell knows. But yeah, solid series all around. I feel like I wasn't given enough credit. Of course I'm not crazy about it, but I still feel it's a pretty good cartoon and has a ton of potential. Please get renewed for another season. Good God, Netflix, don't you fumble the bag with this one.
Foreshadowing is a literary device.
Next up is quite an oldie. Even though I only heard of this show through memes on the Nichijou Reanimated Discord, aspects and visuals from this show definitely made the rounds back in the olden days. Through gifs on DeviantArt or just references in YouTube poops and such. And watching it for the first time, I can see why. It's
extremely f***ing weird.
Bro, don't be so rude. I was going to say the show is interesting.
Interestingly f***ing weird.
Now, I know there's par for the course in the realm of comedic animes, and in some respects it does carry the tropes of them, but I don't like an anime like Nichijou where the weird aspects come from how bizarre the characters react to mundane situations. This show is just plain odd. And not an over-the-top manner, this show is mundane as they come when it comes to stories and characters. But it's through the overall vibe this show has that sets it apart. And that's primarily through the use of the overly long gag. Well, let me tell you folks, that right there is a dangerous tool for comedy writers. It's the type of joke that plays on going on for so long that it becomes comical. And 9 out of 10 times shows butcher this up. Because if the joke they're trying to tell isn't funny, you can bog down the pacing of your episode for minutes on end. And this leads to some of the most unfunny moments of any show. And that's why this one perplexed me. Because this show has a ton of these jokes, and they land more often than not. And that can be down to the blank facial expressions slowly moving, the awkward dialogue, or just how odd these characters interact. They end up being some of the funniest uses of these type of jokes I've seen. Especially from Asaka. She is just the perfect shitpost character. I can see why she was a breakout star here. Every scene of her just makes me laugh. And I have to give the show major props. Pulling this type of joke off multiple times per episode is pretty damn impressive. And the other jokes of this show ain't half bad either. The character interactions can be pretty funny, and Yukari especially has some pretty great moments. But while this show is consistently funny, it does tend to have the typical anime twang in there, and that's where I can say this show can falter. Let me put it this way. The show has 3 to 4 peach episodes. If that breaks it for ya, then I can't convince you to stay. Also, this year is just the worst. I like how Blunt's introduction is, and the reveal of his wife is pretty good. But the majority of his jokes bow down to I love kids. So it could be awkward at best and low-key creepy at worst when Carowin's with him. But other than those 2 hiccups, I had a surprising amount of fun watching this show. With its episodic nature and unpredictable humor, it made each episode a new bizarre surprise. And I really couldn't ask for more out of it.
You're absolutely right. You can tell? All right, let's put you to the test and see how well you help me, Dutch boy.
Cuphead, just shut the f*** up for 1 second.
Well, here's something different, and one that actually came out this year.
Shut the f*** up!
Now, ironically enough, I just started playing the game when the series came out. Well, I mean, I just started last year, but I didn't really give it a chance due to me sucking. But this year, I really gave it my all, and it was great. This game f***ing rocks! With its killer soundtrack, addictive gameplay, and satisfying difficulty. It's one I got hooked on easily after getting through the hurdles. And though I never really finished it, damn you took your time and you're missing this whole boss theme, it's still one I can call a ton of fun. And I would have put the DLC if it wasn't for that stupid f***ing stick trick making it impossible to beat the simplest of bosses and Nintendo clean up your shit. So, needless to say, this show got me interested. Actually, even before him was just announced back in 2019, I still got curious. There haven't been too many video game cartoons people can call good, and unlike most others, the game itself was practically made to become one. So it's interesting to see how it pan out. And well, it's pretty damn good. But it didn't start that way out for me. Yeah, the show had a pretty rocky transition into animation, and the first season shows how. So, let me get to the stuff I like first. For one, it has this cartoony cartoon vibe that I do appreciate. It's something that cartoons and shows these days have been lacking. That or I have tunnel vision, I've been watching purely serialized shows, and it pulls the vibe off really well. The animation of this show is something special, I love it. It manages to pull off that rubber hose style greatly, has my favorite expression work of the shows on this list. It's able to make some really funny ones that add on to the joke, not carry it. The wacky expressions here work because they're reacting to something equally wacky. That's how you pull off exaggerated expressions, Spingo Bob Square Fuck. That's where the comedy kind of peaks. Yeah, the season's just not that funny. Like, I feel the dialogue is very weak, and not often did the series ever get a hard laugh out of me. Except for the Devil and King Dice, they were fantastic. They often had the best episodes in the season and got the hardest laughs. But more often than not, the episodes involving Cuphead and Mugman meander and don't really do it for me. And that led me to not thinking too highly of the show. I appreciate the vibe I was trying to pull off, and I can definitely tell it has an audience, but it just didn't do it for me. But the final few episodes were surprisingly really good, and I was relatively curious as to where the series would go from here. And let me just say, Season 2 was worth the wait. The 3 to 4 month wait. Why did Netflix release this so weird? This is where I can call the show really good. It was an improvement in just about every regard. Its comedy especially got a glow up, and almost each episode was able to get a hard laugh out of me. And even the more predictable plots, they execute them in a really funny way. Rather it be finding a new sibling, trying to catch the mouse, a jailbreak, or being jealous of your sibling's musical prowess to the point where you plot to murder life on stage. The season takes them into a really funny direction, and the surprise character of the season was definitely Mugman. Now, I'm gonna be real, Mugman was probably my least favorite of the main characters of season 1. His brand of cowardly comedy just kinda got stale for me, and his chemistry of Cuphead was rather weak at times. But this season took him into a really different direction that I love. Mugman was improved immensely through the season, and any episode centered on him was my favorite. The way they turned what was a scarily bitch boy into this was perfect, and definitely made it the highlight of the season, and one of my favorite characters of the show. Which brings me to another point, these game characters here are really good, as not only is it nice to see them in the show, but they even help give more personality to a lot of them. Especially Briny Beard and Baroness Von Bonbon. They've become a lot more memorable to me because of this show. Not only that, the new characters they added this season specifically are also really good, like the Ice Cream Truck Man and Bowl Boy. I also appreciate how they developed Cuphead and Mugman's relationship here. They work off each other pretty well. Except for these 2 episodes, they kind of suck there. I also like the overarching story they have here to Devil. It gives a nice taste of continuity, but it doesn't feel the need to have it in each episode. It makes for a nice surprise every once in a while and gives us a good mixture of serialized and episodic. And it works here because the series was always episodic and not trying to tell a continued narrative. Frickin' Rick and What was that? I don't know what that was. Oh no, oh. And overall, I'm looking forward to season 3. The show's on the right track to becoming a really funny cartoon on Netflix. Give it a watch, especially if you like the games. They are both a ton of fun.
Girls always think that what guys are looking for is a cute girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. But all my boys out there, we all know that what we're really looking for is Atlantis, an ancient city filled with treasure, thought to be lost at sea by Poseidon.
How close? Close enough.
Following that up, we have another adult cartoon that was heavily mistreated. And another I enjoyed. Yeah, it's gonna be a rather short portion. I don't have a lot to say about this show. I don't mean that to insult it. It's a pretty good one. I like the more relaxed slice of life approach this one has. It's definitely a relaxing one to watch. That's mostly down to the characters being mostly chill. I enjoy the direction here, with them all being young adults. It allows for a different vibe than a lot of other adult cartoons. The stories also have this more chill approach. Some more than others, but I do appreciate the uniqueness. Speaking of which, I love the direction it took with Josh and Emily's relationship. It is such a nice change of pace to see a healthy, married relationship among the main characters, especially in the realm of adult animation. Like, sure, they don't always get along, but they more often than not communicate how they feel and almost never get to any forced as hell arguments. I appreciate how it takes a more calm approach to it, compared to the bleak, argumentative, just get a divorce already, how the hell you choose to marry. You get the point by now. I appreciate what the show adds to the table. And it's not the characters either, the comedy's also pretty good too. There weren't too many comedic riot episodes, sure, but each episode managed to get one hearty laugh out of me, so it's never unenjoyable. And that's a good way to describe this series. Enjoyable. It didn't amaze me, but it amused me. But let's discuss something else, because this show has been a victim to some pretty bad treatment. You see, this one I can recall being in production hell. Since 2017, the articles have been coming out. Regular show creator making a show for adults. Again and again for the next 3 years, we'd only get a headline or two of information. It made it seem more like a rumor than a possibility. But then, it just came out. Like, randomly too. It seemed like a little fanfare. It's not even on TV. It was kind of just dumped on this random streaming service who I'll not be naming.
We've already got a who does that enough for us. You're
See? And the reviews came into a pretty...
It looks fine.
Comparisons to his last show were made, and it felt like it was merely in the shadow of his previous work.
See? I'm making your point for you, aren't I?
And that would be his reputation for a long time. Until it was cancelled. Yeah, it practically left the same way it started. Random, abrupt, and with little fanfare. Well, I mean, it got trending on Twitter when it was cancelled, and maybe it had a Bill video or two.
Sound familiar.
But again and again, whenever I see people discuss this one, it's always followed by the comparisons. I'd always find it unfair, but not unwarranted. Unfair because I feel any creator of any hit show should always have the new work be judged on its own merit. But warranted due to aspects of this show, art style, and overall vibe. She didn't do it much favors. Hell, Josh has even the same voice as Mordecai. I can definitely understand where people were coming from. But I still think the show should have gotten its own chance to come out of that shadow and be given a fair shake. And while I can't say 3 seasons isn't nothing to get that chance, it still didn't seem like enough for people not to see it as like a spin-off. But I hope the show gets a cult following of sorts, or just some fan support in general. It could definitely use it, especially if this fucker kicking out on Sarah's films. And I do everything that said. Fuck this streaming service.